we've all dressed up for this momentous occasion for the final week of flipping and looping February.
It's flipping February, everybody.
As I said previously, we did the movie Palm Springs, and why don't we just get right into it, because this film was my favorite this month. But I can't speak for the whole team. I can't speak for everyone. It could be that maybe Steve doesn't have a lot to say. It could be that Kaylin hated the movie. Who knows? It could be that I'm just going to tangent. I'm just going to tangent. I get this feeling of anonymity with sunglasses on, and I do have the sniffles. It's just a little sniffle. I'm not on cocaine, but it does look. It does look like I'm on cocaine.
I think I hear sirens in the distance. Jason, I think it's coming from your microphone.
What's
the
that?
Police are coming for you once again. You're going to jail.
Police are coming in me.
Dance?
For all of you who don't know, whenever Jason puts on sunglasses, he becomes the ultimate pervert.
It's true. Wait, what?
It's like a costume.
It is like a costume.
Persona.
Well, now that we've dispensed with the pleasantries, why don't we talk about our history with this movie? We never do this. I'm the host, and we do what I'd want to do, so I'm gonna go first.
Whoa, I didn't know that was an option.
I know, right? I'm making it up as I go this week. So basically, I just saw a trailer for this movie in 2019, and then in 2020 I watched this movie. Do you guys know, did this come out pre-pandemic? Did this come out like in January 2020? Because I don't have that like connection that I have to like say Wonder Woman or Dark Phoenix that were smack dab in the middle of the horrible pandemic.
Yeah, this movie came out in 2020 March.
Oh,
wait.
Okay. So
sorry, wait, no. Wait, yeah. No, wait, that's Hong Kong. Why are you giving me Hong Kong release dates?
So it'll be probably before that then.
I assume maybe a little bit before that. Oh, that's
Anyway.
2021 too. Anyway, yeah, it came out
I
at some
think,
point.
as I recall, it came up pre-pandemic. I remember watching it with my wife and enjoying it immensely.
November 9th, 2020.
Oh, so never mind. I was completely wrong. It came out in the worst part of the pandemic.
Yeah.
When things started to get shitty again.
Sorry, wait. That's when the movie is set. The movie came out on January 26th.
Yes.
2020.
See, that's what I'm talking about, because this film definitely was pre-pandemic then. I was right. I clearly flip-flopped there, and I apologize to our fan. Thank you for watching. Where's Brian? Brian hasn't been around for these shows lately. He's like,
hello, Connor.
Hello. Yeah, so I'll push it over to Steve now. Steve, hey, did you see this one?
Hey, I did. I saw this one. History. What history? Am I right? I had never seen this movie until 2 days ago. I had never heard of this movie before we decided to put it on our list for the month. I looked into it very minimally. I didn't want to get any spoilers. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't dig too deep into it whatsoever. I saw Andy Samberg was in it, so I assumed there was some sort of Lonely Island connection, as usually there is. I know we've done one other Lonely Island movie so far. And the gap between this and Hot Rod is pretty vast in terms of growth for filmmakers, and you can tell. But I won't get too deep into the movie. First impressions, I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the four, but I also wouldn't say it's my least favorite of the four. So
we all know, if you're a fan of the show, we all know how Steve felt about Boss Level, and how last week was an interesting episode. Go back and watch it if you're seeing us for the first time right now. Also, go back and watch last week, because it was a spirited debate.
One of the most spirited yet.
I don't remember it.
Thanks. Thank you.
I just remember all my points. I do like this movie though. I thought it was enjoyable, and something I probably never would have found otherwise, because I have never seen it recommended to me on any of my streamings. And again, I hadn't heard of it. So if it weren't for this month's theme, I probably either would have taken a very long time to come across this movie, or I never would have found it at all. So I will say that I was pleasantly surprised.
So,
Kaylin, over to you. Did you
Well-
see this one?
hold on a second,
Oh.
Kaylin. I have a question for Steve just before we get to you.
Oh, okay.
Hit him.
You said that there was a connection to Lonely Island.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're like
they produced this movie, and
They
also
produced it
Hot
because
Rod.
it's I understand that, but Hot Rod was like historically written, famously written by them, and this movie was written by Andy Sierra and Max Barbakow, directed by Max Barbakow. So I didn't know they produced it. That's an interesting. That's why you come to
Well,
this.
yeah, there's a title card at the beginning of the movie that says "A Lonely Island Production."
completely missed it. But I
This guy-
apologize for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the only connection that I didn't really look too deep into whether or not it was heavily constructed by them, but they have their own production company now, so
Right.
like their own Happy Madison, I guess.
from what I heard, they did a few little rewrites, I think, or added a little to the
Probably-
script. or whatever.
Probably most of the jerking off jokes were probably Lonely Island. Sorry. Okay, so Kaylin, why don't you give us the same? Why don't you tell us if you've seen this? Hey, did you see this one? Hey,
I will never give you the same. I will give you my version of whatever. This was, I think I saw this movie last year. I'm pretty sure, and Jason, I'm going to preface by saying my apologies. I'm pretty sure I saw you did a written review of it around when it came out, and I liked it, but I don't think I read it.
honestly, nobody reads the writing on an Instagram post.
I read some of them, and definitely more so now. But like, there was a time like, oh yeah, here's some love. Here you go.
Thank you.
But I saw
I
that you,
understand.
yeah,
I was
made
confused. I was
mention
like, "What
of
do you
it.
mean you liked it? But you didn't read it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you can physically like things without actually." Yes, so now I understand.
Good old
Steve, it's the year
emoji
2022.
It was
You
a
can-
different time. Yeah.
But I didn't see it. Like, yeah, I didn't know what the movie was, and I watched it for the first time last year, like maybe 7 months ago, something like that, when I got Prime. I was like, oh, this is, because I saw like clips of it on, like, you'd see banners on, websites or whatever. I think is how kind of the first advertising I saw for it. Saw your review of it. Got Prime about a year ago, and that was one of the first ones that I checked out because I'm pretty sure it's exclusively on there. And for the most part, I tried not to be a pirate with my various entertainment viewings. Once in a while, there's a few that just there's no other way to find them. I digress. This was, well, one, I was surprised. I didn't know the premise. I didn't know the gimmick. And I was like, oh, this, like, you don't see this very often. We found 4 for this month. I guess there's maybe 4 more or whatever that you were mentioning in the chat. But it's not something that comes up very often. Like, with movies, like, oh, you have a hero and a villain, they battle, and then the hero wins. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just pretty repeated kind of thing. Like a day repeater, like when you see it, the gimmick sticks out or whatever. So maybe that's why there's not a lot of them. But I was like, ooh, it was a pleasant little surprise of, oh, this is going to be a repeating day thing. And then you got Andy Samberg in it, bringing the funny, but so is this called mumblecore, Jason? I still don't really know what mumblecore is, to be honest. Is it when people just talk normal?
Well, okay, so mumblecore is traditionally a genre that was created from the Duplass brothers. The Duplass brothers make movies
like heavy dialogue or something?
Heavy dialogue, but they talk like we're talking to each other. It's not like, probably a lot of improv. I'm gonna look up the actual definition of mumblecore just to put it on record.
You look it up. I'll finish this thought right quick.
Okay.
No,
I found it.
You found it?
Yeah.
The what was I? Yeah. So it's a day repeater. They kind of call out cliches though, like there's certain tropes that they kind of make fun of, which I appreciated, and I'm glad that we're talking about it today. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
So no, I interrupted you. So Mark Duplass, who is most known for being on the television show The League, him and his brother have kind of reinvented the Judd Apatowian
Right.
style.
Yeah.
To be more indie. Like Judd Apatow took indie movies and made them blockbusters, right? Well, he took those kind of blockbuster ideas that are and indie ideas, and he brought them back down to the smaller screens. And mumblecore was sort of comes out of that. And the official like definition is, this can actually be applied to like a lot of indie movies, not just comedies and not just like romantic comedies, but mumblecore is a subgenre of independent film characterized by naturalistic acting and dialogue, sometimes improvised, low budget film production, an emphasis on dialogue over plot, and a focus on the personal relationships of the people in their 20s and 30s. And I think
what
this
about
is
Kevin
perfect.
Smith movie?
Kevin Smith did it, Judd Apatow did it, but Mark Duplass, the Duplass brothers movies are the ones that really brought this term into the film mainstream, I guess. And it was never really a genre. It was never really called anything before. I don't want to go into like Mark Duplass and his brothers like whole like discography, the filmography, but the League is a perfect example. It's a TV show, but it's a perfect example of that. I'm
Raffi.
Yeah. you look like Jason Mantzoukas, that's for sure.
That sounds like a Greek name.
Yeah, that's the name of Raffi in real life, Jason Mantzoukas. So I guess what I'll do is I'll quickly run down the plot and to bookend this month of films, I want to just point out again that we did 4 separate genres of time loop, and they were all very different, but 2 were similar and 2 other ones were similar, where this one is the closest to Groundhog Day, and the 2 we did in the middle, Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, and that's the whole name of the movie, by the way. Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow.
All you need is kill.
All you need is kill. And Boss Level, those are sort of in the same genre almost.
Sphere.
Yeah. But this one, this one is a mumblecore romantic comedy that sort of is almost doing a parody of those other. It doesn't focus so much on the time loop element as it does the relationship between the 2 main characters. The first time I watched it, I actually saw Andy Samberg as the main character, but this time I saw Cristin Milioti's Sarah as the main character. So it depends on what kind of frame of mind you go into. You can kind of make an argument for either of them. You know what I mean? The time loop gimmick itself might even be the main character for all of these movies. So,
well, I think this is the only one that is split between 2 perspectives.
Yeah,
where you see something. I mean, there's that one moment in Boss Level. Let's just not talk about Boss Level.
Let's not talk about that. It's a terrible example.
Come on.
But there is, there's equal, not equal, but there is screen time for Andy Samberg, as well as the other character, where there are things happening to them that the other person's not aware of, and we are as an audience, which means that they are given perspective, which means that they both have a character that is separate from one another. So we're privy to information for both of them.
And I liked that because you get a time loop movie, and within the time loop movie, you get a bit of a time travel, time manipulation thing, because you're cutting to like a point of the same thing happening on a same day from somebody else's point of view. So it's been the same day. And we do get the thing where at the beginning you think he's foreshadowing that he's been stuck, that he's going to become stuck in the timeline, but we find out by the time we get to the first time we see the reception that he's actually doing the thing that Bill Murray does on like day 3 in Groundhog Day, where he's predicting all kinds of stuff, and then he goes but we don't know how long he's been in there. And when we talked about Groundhog Day, and we were talking about, well, how come none of the movies are like starting halfway through?
Right.
We did get to see the progression of that idea through the next 3 movies, where Edge of Tomorrow was another we see the first day. We don't really know how long he's stuck in that his montages for. And then in Boss Level, he's like halfway through. He's been but we know exactly what day it is when it starts. And in this one, it's completely abstract, right down to Kaylin has a theory about Nana, and I have questions about that too, because I had no idea what you were talking about. There's 2 scenes in this movie I didn't pick up the first time I saw, and we'll get to that. But Nana and that very final scene during the credits, I would changed my mind on some things. So
was there a post-credit scene?
There's a mid-credit scene.
When you say mid-credit, you're talking about when Roy comes back to the wedding the next day?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about, yeah, okay.
And I have a theory about that. But it's probably not really a theory. It's more of like, let's discuss it. But before we get to those 2 things, I'm just going to do a quick plot rundown. And essentially what it boils down to is you have Niles is a very depressed and sort of turned 30, kind of a, nihilistic millennial. And he goes to Palm Springs with his girlfriend, who is the
no movie title shout out, by the way. I was sad.
Yeah, well,
sometimes it's inappropriate, but I still like to hunt for them.
I do have a suggestion for that, because later in the movie Roy says, my heart's here in
Irving?
in where he's from, and he looks at him, Irvine, California.
Irvine, yeah.
And he looks at Niles, and Niles makes the face like, well, my heart's in Palm Springs. And that's I know that's a stretch, but this is Jason's theory.
I see what you're doing, like a nod to the title.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway,
sorry, I interrupt.
He's at a wedding with his girlfriend, who's the maid of honor, or she's just, I can't remember. I can never remember if she's
the sister of the bride.
Well, no, that's
Sarah, his girlfriend.
Misty.
His girlfriend is a bridesmaid. His girlfriend
is just a bridesmaid.
Yeah.
And you see that they're in a relationship that is not fulfilled. And then we learn shortly after that he's stuck in a time loop, and he takes Cristin Milioti's character, Sarah, who is the maid of honor and the sister of the bride, takes her out to bang her on some rocks, and then he gets attacked by a mysterious man in camouflage, and is chased into a glowing cave. And Sarah follows him in, and then she wakes up the next day also in the time loop. So the bulk of the movie is a fun romp through this future couple, sort of becoming friends in the time loop, and they both, she goes through her like suicide phase, and then her reckless phase that we've seen in every one of these fucking time loop movies. But this time he's a Sherpa for her. He's sort of being like, I already did all this. We don't have to do this. We can just be here. We can be chill. And she says, you know what? Fuck you. This is all bullshit. I can't believe that you even want to follow me around and be my friend. I don't know why I had sex with you. And he says, we've had sex thousands of times. And she's like, what the fuck? You told me this was the first time. And he's like, whatever. And they split.
Whoa. Before you just say whatever, he did kind of have a nice, like that little moment where it's like, I should have told you, but I didn't want to. So I did. Like, I actually kind of felt like it felt genuine to me, that little.
It wasn't as gross as Bill Murray.
Right.
I will say, because this character actually redeems himself by the end.
Okay, but also Bill Murray's character, maybe he did explain that to Rita a million times, and Rita doesn't remember every single time, whereas she now will remember.
Oh, touche.
That's the main difference, is that Andy Samberg has other people that are looping with him, where if he gives them any information, they'll retain it now. So he also has to deal with the consequences of the fact that he manipulated a time loop to have sex 1,000 times.
That's a
And then
good
all of
point.
a sudden, the person that he had sex with will now know that.
If
So
he
he's
hadn't-
probably nervous to say, yeah, I might have done this a lot.
And I think
Which
about
is
it, if he hadn't
gross
taken
and scary.
if he hadn't taken her that night up to those rocks,
Yeah.
why would you ever take a date there? Something. Why would
He's
you take
probably taken her there before. Or
That's
maybe
a-
he
yeah.
was so loaded.
I
that
was
he
thinking
like,
about
"All right,
that,
I'll
but
do
like-
it on the rocks."
Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
almost done. So essentially what happens is she bounces, but he doesn't actually know where she's staying. So he immediately checks her room. And he starts going through his like a depression phase where he's just going and partying every night and just trying to be depressed, kind of like how we meet him. And then one night he's in a room with like a couple of the groomsmen, the groom, and the like party boy minister is what I kept calling him in my head. He's dressed in a hilarious like western suit.
Yeah.
But he's also Asian, so it's a great.
Yeah, he's Asian with an Australian accent, dressed
Yeah.
as a cowboy, and has lots
Yeah.
of drugs on
and
him.
has
And
all
has
kinds
the
of
party,
different
the party treats.
all kinds
And
of
they're
different
funny
colors.
colors.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
blue and yellow and pink, and they're doing blow. And there's this plot line through the whole movie that Sarah, Cristin Milioti's character, smells like this Garnier Fructis fucking smell, this like hair spritz, whatever, doesn't matter. But
I wrote it down.
Yeah, what's it called?
I wrote it down. Where is that? Orchard Explosion.
You're right.
By Fournier.
By Fournier. And he smells it on the pillow, and he puts together that she was in this room with the groom like the night before, because nobody else in the whole place wears that smell. Then meanwhile Sarah's gone to figure this out. So she learns quantum physics over probably hundreds and thousands of loops. And then Andy Samberg doesn't immediately try to go and figure out when she leaves the room. He just kind of leaves her alone.
I don't think he has any control over that. Do you think he can wake up earlier?
Oh no, that's a good point. He can't. She's already long gone into her hiding place where she's studying, which is a diner or whatever. Yeah. Okay,
that's how I read it too. Is that she woke up like an hour before he did on that day, so she's got a whole hour ahead of him every single day.
Yeah. So yes. So anyway, he never finds her, and then she finally shows up to him, and is like, "I have this plan," and shows him this like. I don't know what the science is here. This kind of reminded me of Boss Level, where they're like, "Here's a bunch of science that you may or not be based."
Yeah, but in this one, they don't try and like make it seem like of course. Like it's just like she's purposefully rambling it off, and he's like, "What?" Whereas like in the other movie,
they need energy
they
to break
state
free.
things as though it's like, "Didn't you realize?" You're like,
so what it boils down to is she has figured out that if you do a huge explosion they're trapped in a time field box, a energy box, and if you do an explosion inside the cave next to the light, this is all purposely not explained, I think, because then you have people on the internet trying to really break it apart.
Yeah, because who the fuck cares?
Who cares? Anyway,
they're in a fucking time loop.
She straps a bunch of C4 to herself, walks into the cave, and right at the last second, Andy Samberg makes it there. In an airport at the end of every romantic comedy scene, and they have back
that
and
one
forth.
from Not Another Teen Movie, hilarious.
Yeah, and this felt very much more like a parody of that instead of trying to be earnest. But anyway, they tell each other they love each other. They go through. We see a montage of like explosions and stuff, and then they're on the next day, and we find out it's the next day because the family comes home to the pool house of the place where Andy Samberg was hiding out pretty much for the whole movie.
Yes, they come back on the tent.
His secret spot.
And then the thing I want to bring up about the post-credit scene is Roy shows up to the party to be like, "Hey man, I heard you guys have this plan to get out. Like, I don't know if it's gonna work, but can you try it?" And Niles doesn't know who he is, and then Roy knows that he has escaped. So yeah, that is the base. That was the theory. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't pick that up the first time I watched it. I was like, "What is he joking around?"
I thought you had like an additional theory.
No, my theory was literally that's just Roy's smile, is that he knows that he escaped. If anything, it's kind of depressing because when when Niles goes to see Roy, not Roy's like, this is great, but like, you know, I mean, this is everything I've ever wanted, but you kind of hear it in his voice and see it in his eyes that like, this is it forever. I've watched my idiot kids be idiots.
Yeah.
Bouncing
I think
on the
that
horse, not
Yes.
going anywhere.
So like
Yeah.
to me,
Watering the shit.
yeah, he's watering a pile of shit right now. That smile at the end to me is like not a smile of just recognition that he got out, but also like I can get out too.
There's hope.
That
Yeah.
means there's a way out. I can figure it out. Because he does also say that she showed up to tell him the plan, right? Which means she probably
She left a message. I think
she probably gave him enough information to start his own journey out.
Yeah.
Like you just need to learn all
Just
of
go
quantum
blow yourself
physics.
up. Yeah.
He's like, well, okay.
Well,
No,
what
he doesn't need
happens-
to learn
got
that
it.
part. He just needs to. She probably was like, "Yo,
Just get a lot of
you need
explosives.
to go to the cave at the moment you start zipping in, blow yourself up with C4, and that explosion will propel you out of this energy loop thing." I have so many
happens?
questions about the actual.
I
loop.
have questions about the like what happens if like the whole town went and saw this loop. Would the whole town get stuck? And then what happens if Niles and Sarah want to go see Roy on the 10th? Is he missing now forever?
Or is he a zombie?
Or is he
Is
just
he
like
Not
kind
a
of like
zombie,
how,
but is he someone that doesn't know them from that? Like, so is there, different timelines now? So also, are they out of
He's
the loop,
probably
or-
missing.
he,
There's no way we can answer these questions. Like,
but
okay.
there's
No, but
fun
this
to
is-
talk about. Are they
why we
looping
have a-
November 10th now?
this
They
is why
didn't
we
seem
have
to
a
care about the family being there. They just kept chilling.
no, they don't care about the family being there because they probably have little to no fucks about anything.
No, maybe they're
Yeah, what's the
looping
worst that's
November
going to
10th.
happen to them? They'll call the cops and then they'll have to deal with a day in jail. It's like they probably have been like stabbed and like murdered and tortured. Like he's been tortured and lit on fire by Roy like a million times. Going to jail for trespassing in someone's pool, probably not a big deal.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
like, you know what, I've
They're
been through
desensitized.
way worse than this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, to those questions where it's like, what happens to Roy? It's like, he probably is gone. He's probably missing, right? Like until he gets out of the loop. And then Andy Samberg like at one point he's like, of course I've never thought about the multiverse, but he says it like sarcastically, like of course I've thought about the multiverse. And that's a question we've had for every single one of these movies, which is a question that is opened up as soon as you decide time loops are going to happen. What happens to the people that continue on in that timeline? Emily Blunt has probably been like shot for like treacherous and like going against the government. You're now being thrown in jail for all sorts of crimes for shooting Tom Cruise and breaking into government buildings and stealing
Maybe those
devices from
timelines
government.
end though when the last person either died.
Yeah, this is the first one where they've had multiple people in a loop, which is the most interesting aspect of this movie to me. I think that it makes the movie more fun because you can have different perspectives on the same scenario, whereas every other one, it's just one person having to deal with it. The Edge of Tomorrow is the closest, where Emily Blunt went through the same thing, but she got out of it, right? And so she doesn't have the perspective of like, well, what about if we were both in it at the same time? That's a little bit too complicated. This movie is not really dealing with the complexities of it. It's just sort of like, wow, now there's two of us in here. Fun.
Where
I would
with
also
Edge of Tomorrow, since it is a sci-fi movie, you have to make the reason why they got into it simplistic, because the rest of the movie is using actual science.
Yeah, but I mean, like a lot of the science in these movies is just like they looked into time travel for a little while and they're like, is it possible? I mean, theoretically it is, but we could probably never do it. But let's just use mumbo jumbo to like make it make sense for the plot of the story.
I have one question about the like ridiculousness of the cave. That it's like he says it's our ancestors.
No, it's the answers.
What?
I was making a joke.
Oh,
because you're right. He does say the ancestors, and then he says the answers that you're looking for.
But the thing is then like I don't know if the same scene or if that literally the next thing he says is, man, these mushrooms are great, and then they see dinosaurs. So I don't know if those dinosaurs are a hallucination or if they've just wandered out of the cave and they wander out of the cave
I think
and back
the
into the cave
implication
or
is that
something.
like I think the implication is that there's like a greater sort of like warping of time that's happening, and
Just
it
in
may
that-
not, in that area around the cave,
Yeah.
yeah, because and like it's not necessarily dinosaurs coming through the cave that they can see, but because they're doing mushrooms, maybe they're able to perceive something that is happening around that cave or like other things
which is a
also in
real
loops.
theory about magic mushrooms, that they allow you to they open up
The other dimension.
like a different plane. Like in how like animals can see, like they perceive the universe differently than us. Like they
Yeah,
And
I mean,
They see like some see not infrared or some see ultraviolet or something like that. Or whatever
yeah,
it
and they
is,
can
or
like basically like see like yes.
things
my
like that.
welcome to my theory corner. I bet you this movie started with people writing about drugs that send your mind into other times, and then they're like, let's just do a time loop movie. Let's scrap the drug part. Well, we'll keep a snippet of it in there.
We'll make it a
Were they doing
mumblecore
drugs at the end?
Yeah.
about millennials, so they'll have to do drugs at some point. We'll pull a lot of swearing and dick jokes in there.
Yeah, and then
Lot
some
of fucking-
dinosaurs will show up, and it'll be a beautiful moment.
My favorite joke in the whole movie is right at the beginning where she's like, I don't want you to get your sweat all over me, and they're having sex. And she's like, can you just finish? And he's like, okay. And then she's like, okay, get off me. You're sweating all over me, but you can watch. And she's going,
Watch
oh
me.
shit,
Or
shit,
on top.
oh shit, because she can't find earrings or whatever. But they're looping like
Yeah.
shit, oh shit. And then
Yeah.
it just cuts to him, and you just see him like jerking off.
trying.
It's really, it's like that's great comedy in my opinion.
I was also, because I knew it was a time loop movie, and right away I was like, is he already in a time loop? Because he
Right.
seems like Bill Murray when he's in his like depressive phase right out of the gate. And like either he's already depressed
He's wearing
or
a
he's
Hawaiian
already
shirt
in,
to a wedding.
yeah. And then everybody
I
else
would.
around him seems so upbeat, chipper, or very caricature-y. Like the guy who swims up to him at the pool and he's like, you never know what can happen, and he
The
takes
foreshadowing.
yeah, which you don't really realize is foreshadowing until the big moment where you're like, oh, okay,
Hilarious.
it's literally just a joke. That character is just a joke.
Jerry.
Because at some point I thought that maybe that guy was like going to be in the time loop too. Because as soon as they introduced the idea that Roy is in there, Sarah's in there, Andy's in there, I'm like, there could be other people in here too, baby. And definitely
Nana.
that old lady is in the time loop as
Well,
well.
that definitely
sure.
brings us to Nana, because I don't know, Nana doesn't really have a prominent role in this movie, but that moment was
I
pretty
have
clear.
two statements I think to make.
Okay, I want to hear. You probably thought about it because you had the idea for longer than me. I've only just been messing around with it this afternoon, and all I have is that she just like that night at some point she had a few too many and wandered out into the desert, because obviously this light in the cave is very close, like a walking distance.
Yeah, enough to go hook up with someone.
Yeah, which is you can hook up with people anywhere really. Steve,
can.
Man, we look so cool with
you
our
look too
sunglasses.
cool. We all look pretty cool, especially when we're like.
I feel like we look like a bunch of like radio DJs from like Grand Theft Auto or some bullshit.
Hello and
Like,
welcome,
all right, welcome
to,
back to
welcome back to
Super
the show.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick and tired of the man fucking you in the ass?
On this
Go
next segment, we're
fuck.
going to be talking about Nana in the movie Palm Springs.
Well, I heard that Nana got fucked on the set of this movie, and she loves to get fucked.
Oh my god.
Can we say that on the radio? Probably not.
We're on Sirius satellite radio.
But who
Shit
fucking
ass
cares?
dick.
Yeah, now it's over to Brian with traffic.
It's busy.
Yeah. Gridlock.
Okay. Nana. So check it. She says, so she has like two scenes. She has a scene at the beginning after he does his speech to her, or the speech to save her from doing the speech.
Yeah.
She's like, I've seen more weddings than you can imagine or whatever, and that's the best speech or whatever. So there's that little kind of like inkling, but that could just be like anyone can say that, right? And she's an older person. She probably has been, even just in a regular life, more weddings than a younger person. But then at the end, now correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I will.
Thank you. Sarah, I don't believe ever told her that told Nana that her mom was dead. Also, she makes the comment about, well, I guess you're going to be leaving now or whatever. I wrote it down actually. Where's it at? Blah 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 blah. Where did I put it?
So just
Nana, I suppose now that you'll be going soon. So basically, if someone's in a loop, if they're in a loop, anyone who's not in a loop basically does the same shit over and over again. And when you see someone do something different that wasn't as a result of something you did, like they did it on their own different, then you know they're also in a loop.
yes.
And so when she finally, because Sarah never did, she never did the speech or whatever. So at the end, she finally does the speech or whatever, blah, blah. That's like her. She knows that she's in the loop, and Nan is also in the loop.
Cool. That's a great theory. I like that. And I this movie, this is a rare time when I almost wish this movie was a little bit longer to put a little bit more into exploring. Like, I want to find out that there's like a bellhop or a fucking waiter or some random tertiary character that's also
Nana.
Like at the
We got
loop.
one. It's Nana, man.
no, I know, but like
Ooh.
another one, like a more like and explore them more. Give me a 10-minute like
I was very excited when I realized that, oh, he's in the loops, and then he's also in the loop with somebody else already, and we were going to be exploring the loops through a third person. Like, it wasn't just going to be one person explaining loops. There's also another person. It kind of reminded me of the Watchmen TV series where Ozymandias has like the hunter that's hunting him. And I'm like, oh, cool. He's got a hunter. And then when I realized it was J.K. Simmons, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I kind of wish there was more of that, but it was interesting to me that, you know, he's doing the smelling at the party, and then she shows up.
Do you think that was, did he actually have a special nose, or do you think
he's been in the loop for a million years. He just knows the smells, man.
Okay.
He smells something, and then she walks up and he names her hairspray. But then later he's like, I knew I smelt you, Roy. And he's like running away. And so he was just smelling Roy. Like, how pungent is Roy's odor that he smelled him at the wedding?
I know my dad has a smell, and it's not like a bad smell, but I know my dad's smell, for instance.
Oh yeah, I know. Yes, of course. You would. Yeah.
So
if you've smelled people enough times, you do have a smell memory that appears when they're near you. Yeah.
They make it very clear that Roy is like a man who likes to put on a suit and wear a hat. He probably has an extremely pungent.
I like your hat. Of course you do.
Of course you do. He probably has an extremely pungent aftershave. That you could.
The shot of Andy Samberg, just like his face, and then he smells, and like he's got a mountain of a face. I love it.
They both do, but J.K. Simmons and Andy Samberg both have incredible bone structure. Like, it's just like.
And also, is it Cristin, right?
Cristin Milioti. She's one of my favorite actors ever, and she only appeared on the scene as spoiler alert, the mom on How I Met Your Mother.
Ooh, was it? Oh yeah. So see, I could see Tim Burton liking her. When I can see her. She has like a Tim Burton.
She has giant eyes.
She has giant eyes.
Exactly.
And a giant
amazing.
You know what I was thinking? If they gender bent the Joker for a Batman, she could play the Joker because of her fucking mouth.
That's interesting.
I like her mouth too. She's got just like a very nice smile.
Yeah, and she does. So there's a few actors in Hollywood right now that do very significant eye acting, and one of them is Alison Brie, and the other one is what's her name, Judy from fucking Ozark and Inventing Anna.
Judy Garland.
No.
Sorry, I'm thinking a few decades ago.
Yeah, you're thinking
somewhere over a rainbow.
The wrong era completely. The person that I'm talking about is Julia Garner, and she does significant eye acting. That's why I thought I could remember it off the top of my head. But this Cristin Milioti also does significant eye acting, and in this one, usually
When
it's
you
like,
say eye acting, like, do you mean like hand commercials? Like she has like things that are just her eyes, or do you mean she's very expressive with
no,
with
her
her eyes?
eye. She does a certain move with her eyes that I call eye
Oh,
acting, and it's like
gotcha. Okay.
like rapidly blinking and crying. She doesn't really
Okay.
have that persona in this, but in other things she does. But her eyes are very prominent in everything she does because
Right.
she's a
Well,
great
they're
eye
on her
actor.
face.
That's true. And this one I like the characterization of Sarah because Sarah is very much the same character as Niles, just a decade before. If she had been trapped in the time loop for as long as he perceptively has, I
Mm.
assume he's been in there for a while. She might be as nihilistic as him, but I feel like both of them going in had some
Girls are
nihilistic.
more mature though. That's why she found a solution and got. I
Well,
think.
yeah, that's why she was like,
Girls get it done.
I want to get out of
Exactly.
here. And he's like,
Yeah.
what if we stay? But I also like the declaration of her being like, let's
Independence.
get out of here together and be together. And him being like, let's stay in here and be together.
Yeah, it was a good
It's a good romantic like moment that's not too overused. It's they wanted the same things, but it shows their character. It shows their who they are as people. She wants to grow old with him, and he wants to party and be stuck and do wacky shit and be a kid.
I think that he was also frightened of going back because he has been in there so long, right?
Well, he says to her, like, don't do the psycho stuff because that stuff stays with you. That will that and Bill Murray actually alludes to that, and I think there's a bit of that in Boss Level as well, where it's like, I've killed these people over and over. I've killed these people over and over, and that stays with you.
No, there was no character development in Boss Level.
Yeah, I think it's not character character growth, but I think he says it. I think he says it at some point.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe he said it.
Frank Grillo.
I think it's also interesting. Andy Samberg, one moment for me at least, when he reveals something, I was like, whoa, that he has been in here a long time. And it's like Bill Murray, I think he says like, I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe 1,000, I don't know. Tom Cruise, it's like he goes over and over again, and like he becomes so good at fighting that you assume he's been in there for a really long time. Boss Level, it's they literally give you a timer because it's a movie for dumb idiots. And then this movie,
do you think the time would be kind of fast tracked though? Like, so for a regular year, like think about your regular year, you take breaks, you know what I mean? You don't do the same thing every day. Do you think they're constantly doing the same thing every day? Or do you
no
Steve, finish your thought.
You get tired of it and need a couple days for a break.
So okay, but anyway, Kaylin, hold on a second. So as I was saying, the other three movies have they imply how long it's been, but they don't directly say it, or they allude to it, or they don't even know. This guy's been in here so long that he doesn't remember what his job was before he was in the loop. Like, think about
how. Do you think that was a genuine moment?
I think it was, and I think that is meant to tell you how long he's been in there, that he actually doesn't remember much about his life before being in this wedding loop. And I think that's way more telling and more powerful than in any of the other movies where, like, I mean, Tom Cruise, I think, is the other one that is the most compelling because of how good he is in combat, where he can fight even without it being a loop. Like, he's learned so well how to fight these things over so long that he can fight them. In this one, he has forgotten what his life was before, which is like, think about how prevalent your job is, or any job you've ever had. Like, you can remember every job you've had, right?
My first job, and I was 16, and I can remember.
But have you ever had a job that you forgot about? Like, I don't think I've ever had a job I forgot about. And I think that it would take a very, very long time of doing the same thing for me to forget any of my jobs that I've had.
I would say it's likely he had been in the loop for like a couple hundred years then at that point, for you to forget what your job was as an adult, as a 30-year-old man. This isn't like he's forgetting like what he did in high school to like make money. He was 30 years old and then got stuck in this loop for so long that he forgot what he was doing.
What his career was.
Comment, the million, your happy millionth birthday, dipshit, or whatever. Like, I'm not that old, am I? Like, there was that little kind of nod to it as well.
Maybe that's legitimate.
I think that was also like her dig at him being like, you don't even know how long you've been in here, so I'm going to assume it's a million years.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, it could be a million years. And I really liked that moment a lot. The fact that like he can't remember who he is, which is probably one of the reasons why he's so scared to leave, is that if he leaves, he's like, what do I do after that? Do I have to remember my bank code? Do I need a valid driver's license?
How long do you guys think you could chill in a loop for? Because that made me think about it too. Like he's got a point, like going back to the real world where there's consequences and death and famine.
I think that's the point of these movies, though. You raise an interesting point, Kaylin. I think that like that is the point of these movies. This sort of trope is what would you have to relive over and over again to like significantly change you as a human being?
Well, here's my main problem with this particular loop. Why I wouldn't want to be stuck in it.
But I thought you wanted to redo your wedding.
First of all,
yeah, but if it was Jason's wedding, it would be a different story.
This guy probably woke up super hungover. Okay. Every time he wakes up, he's reminded of him catching his girlfriend, who on the first time that he woke up didn't know she was a cheater, knows that she's cheated on him now a million times. He probably liked this girl somewhat.
What do you think his first day looks like?
The first time he did it was probably the normal, one of the days we see that's just like a regular, he goes, like he has the suit on in that post-credit scene, like he probably goes to the thing, probably has a shitty time, probably catches his girlfriend cheating or thinks there's something wrong.
Drunk.
And then he gets wasted.
Wanders off to find the cave.
He probably wanders into the desert drunk. Yeah, that's a fucking good point. He probably saw his girlfriend cheating, got pissed, lashed, went into the desert, found the cave, wandered in, boom, wakes up again, hungover, because he's clearly a drinker. Like, I don't think drink.
Well, I think the drinking was because of the loop, though.
No,
like,
but
you know what I mean.
He seemed like he was the kind of guy that was like not going anywhere in life anyway, because his girlfriend's pretty shitty, you know. Like that's the impression. I got the impression that this character was like this before the loop, too, and that's why he loves being.
Yeah, it's probably like a more caricaturized version, right? Like whenever anyone's at a wedding. I've only ever been to one destination wedding, and it was your wedding, Jason. And it wasn't really a destination wedding. It was like
destination Nova Scotia.
I mean, it still is. I had to travel, and it was cool as fuck. I'd never been to Nova Scotia before, and I really liked it.
So my assumption is that he wakes up on this loop every day, hungover, to his shitty girlfriend, who he knows is a cheater, saying,
That's a nice
"Wake
leg.
up." Yeah, and then.
So you think that he got drunk the night before as well?
Probably.
It was what was the thing before? The what do they call it? The
dinner. The dinner.
Yeah, what do they call it?
The rehearsal.
The rehearsal. Yeah, the rehearsal. Yeah, I'm definitely getting drunk for the rehearsal. I got to rehearse what it's going to be like getting drunk for the wedding.
Yeah. So I think that you wake up with a certain amount of the previous day, and and I'm convinced that he woke up every morning hungover, looking at his shitty girlfriend. Sometimes he was like, I guess I banged her on this day a bunch of times. Like probably on the first time I banged her, and then now he can't get off. I do have a question about the night that Sarah gets stuck in the loop. He basically, like, they're about to have sex. So does he wake up super horny? Does horniness carry over? And then he has sex.
My favorite thing is the underwear. I felt so attacked by that line.
He have that sex with his soon to be ex-girlfriend that next morning, and he's able to finish because he was basically edging with Sarah that previous night. Anyway, these are just things that go through my head during the movie. This is the kind of podcast I want to have. It's a sex comedy.
Again, I can't answer these questions.
You're a sexual being, Jason.
I do think that, like, in each one of these movies, we have had this sort of like thought before, which is, yes, you wake up exactly how you would have woken up that day based
mentally,
on your action,
like psychologically,
and physically based on what you did the day before. So if you did drink a bunch, you would be hungover every single time you woke up.
Do you think hangovers carry over the way that, like,
not from that day, but from the 8th,
day before,
if he had a hangover from
and
the
that's
8th.
what I mean. That is what I mean for this theory. But do you think that since hangover is it is physical, but there's a lot of psychological elements to it. Do you think
Yeah,
he
you would
wakes
probably
up with,
eventually
like-
get to the point where you're just hungover every time you wake up, so you're so used
Oh,
to
no
it.
wonder
that
he's
it's just
drinking. Hair of
normal.
the dog.
Hair of the dog is completely fictional in my opinion. It
Oh
makes
man, a
my day
drink when you're
worse.
hungover always helps.
It never helps me. It makes it 100 times worse every time.
Well, I have to agree with Kaylin on this one.
Really?
Yay, I
Yes.
got
I
one.
No, I think I am in the minority because people that drink really heavily swear by it, and I think I get hangovers worse than.
Oh man, I also felt attacked. So I felt 2 attacks, and they both made me laugh. Are you wearing underwear under your bathing suit? Yeah, doesn't everybody? I'm wearing boxers under my swimming shorts right now.
Yeah, but you're not going
You're just
swimming.
hanging out at
Kaylin.
home.
Yeah.
I mean, this is true, but if I was, I still do. Well,
To be fair,
would.
I did stop wearing boxers underneath my swimming trunks when I was probably about 17 or 18.
It
But
creates a nice space for my penis because when you get out of the water, the shorts, if you're not wearing
Yeah.
anything, are all just like shrink wrapped to your penis.
Yeah, and people get to look and see your.
All right, and now we're going over to Brian with the top 40 hits.
It's
I
busy.
want to wait for my life to be over.
Okay. I have never worn underwear underneath my bathing suit. You guys are crazy.
I really like.
It has a mesh lining.
I
It's
like.
in
No,
I
there.
cut that
no.
shit out.
If there's a
Ew.
mesh
You
lining,
cut it out.
Yeah,
It's
no,
there for
I
a
love-
reason.
I love the mesh lining. I would
I
never
hate
cut
the
it
mesh
out.
lining.
I do know about people that do cut them out. I will just go free ball in it. But I prefer the lining. I prefer the lining for swim shorts.
Now these are the kind of conversations I like.
Yeah.
Kaylin had several
Boxers
years
and briefs.
when we worked at Boston Pizza together. Kaylin would walk up to people and ask them if they crumpled their toilet paper or folded it. So that's the kind of person Kaylin is.
Wait, you were working there and you asked guests this?
No, coworkers.
Oh, coworkers. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I thought you
that
went
was
up to like
right.
people eating a pizza and you're like coming out of the back, like after washing
Hey.
dishes or some shit.
No,
You're like,
no,
hey, lady,
he was
you
clean.
crumpled it full.
He was clean.
I want the
He drove the pizza van or the pizza wagon. He drove the car.
The pizza mobile.
Pizza mobile with the little thing on the top.
No, we didn't have the thing on the top. We had the stupid magnet decals on the side and the front and the back. And I'd play my
Oh.
music really loud. And then they would call Boston Pizza like, hey, your driver's playing his music really loud.
Wait, somebody called the cops for you driving with loud music playing?
Yeah.
Oh
There
my
was
God.
one time I was driving, listening to the Beatles. Like I got to the
The
house,
Beatles too.
I
That
was
must have been an
listening to the
old person
Beatles.
being like,
I'm so old, I
It
even
wasn't
hate
an
the
old person.
Beatles.
I was like, how? First off, you'd think that it would be more so in line with their taste or whatever, but maybe that I'm presuming.
that's why I'm
But
saying
at the-
they're so old that they even hate the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like they're like ancient people.
Young people hate the Beatles.
That hippie
How
music.
can anyone hate the Beatles? They're
People
so
our
loving.
age hate the Beatles because they're overhyped. And I was watching
They're
the
so peaceful and awesome, and also experimental.
Glenn Howerton. This strikes a nerve with me because Glenn Howerton, who plays Dennis on It's Always Sunny, I was watching their podcast, and he hates the Beatles because he's a fan of the Kinks, and the Kinks existed around the same time. They never got the notoriety. that the
Which one is
Beatles did.
Dennis? Just describe him physically.
Chin,
Chin.
cheekbones.
Dark,
Dennis.
slicked hair.
The
No.
Guy who takes
pointy
his shirt
one?
off all the time, or Charlie?
Not Charlie, not slick back
the
hair.
pointy one with
not
the
the
dress shirt?
bird. The pointy one with the dress shirt. Yes,
Okay, yes.
Dennis.
Guy who is a gym teacher, or not a gym teacher. He's in another show.
He's
where
on
he's a
AP
teacher.
Bio as a AP Bio.
Is that
teacher.
good?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. I kind of want to check it out. Right quick though, the second attack is when the bartender brings them the 2 drinks. When I used to go to bars, I would always get 2 drinks because it was annoying to like go back to the bar and wait again for another drink. And it's like, oh, you're an alcoholic. And I was like, I felt a little attacked. I was like, oh shit, a little mirror in the face.
No, it's fair enough, but like I was the same way in the before times, and especially in Halifax, because the lineup to get a beer in Halifax is crazy at the bar,
Yes,
at the nightclub.
I can attest to that. I remember while there, it was like everybody was in the same bar, and you would go out in the street and there was like nothing else except for one other bar like on the other side of the city.
But then what people would do is they would stay at the bar and hang out at the bar, and then there would be a layer of people just hanging out at the bar, and then two layers of people waiting to get beer and sticking their arm through to get the beer. And
I think in that scenario, yes, it is completely fair to get 2 drinks. At a wedding, maybe not. Yeah. Also, those drinks, I was watching this with some friends again, and we all commented on the beautiful color of the drinks that he had. They look like weird, like silver. I don't even know what it was. I was like, what is that drink? It looks so nice.
Did they say it?
I don't think that they said what kind of drink it was. She just comes up and says, here are the drinks you didn't pick up from the bar. And she just puts them down and then walks away annoyed. That bartender character was, she should have ended up in the loop somehow, or just it should have been revealed that she was in the loop, and she just decided, like, I guess I have to do my job forever.
When he does that thing, I know that you know, but do you know that I know that you know, or do you know?
He had one of the best lines, also one of the funniest parts in the movie. So when Andy Samberg is talking about all the people he banged throughout time and space to Cristin Milioti when she asks when they're finally like getting along, she's giving him a hand job in the back of her car, I assume. And she's also telling him about how she goes,
I hit a guy in this car once.
Oh, I thought she said I hit a guy with his car once.
No, I think she was talking about the car they were inside of.
I don't think he ever walked again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That reminds me of the end of there's an episode of, have you guys ever seen the show Party Down?
Not yet.
Party Down is a show about a group of caterers. And it's got a bunch
of
people
that sounds
on it, like
familiar.
Jane Lynch and
did someone steal
Adam
something
Scott.
from a funeral? Were they catering a funeral and they had to get their coupling?
But the main character is played by Adam Scott, and he had like a 15 minutes of fame thing where he was in a beer commercial and he said, "Are we having fun yet?" And the same scene is basically playing out where he's getting a handy from like this girl at one of the parties, and then she's like, "Can you say the thing? Say the thing." And he says, and then it cuts to black, and she just hear her go, "Ooh," like he jizzed. So that's what that reminded me of, and explaining it now made me feel gross. So
don't worry, we all feel gross.
We're at 1
after
hour.
That.
We're at 1 hour here. We're very concise this week. We were on time. Our technology all worked on the first get-go. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to keep talking about this, or do you want to take her home? Buddy?
Yeah, I think we've got some other things we can talk about. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I thought we would have hit all the stuff that I wanted to talk about, but we haven't really hit any of it. So Kaylin, why don't you go first?
No, Steven, I stole your spot. I'm up here, or I don't really know how Zoom works after you guys record. Like, can you move where these windows are?
Yeah, I can move them. Yes, I can move them.
Oh,
yeah.
And you can move them too.
Not after you've recorded though.
That's what I mean. Like,
I'm moving mine right now.
But it looks the same for me.
Well, you can move them on. You can move them on your computer.
Yeah. But you're currently recording, so it's going to record you moving them. It'll look different on my recording of it.
All right, I'll stop.
Well, you do. I want to know what Kaylin's question is.
Yeah. So. Oh wait.
It wasn't the question. It was you go first because I stole your spot. Oh, I remember how we got to it. I was like, I stole your spot. I'm up here. And then I was like, oh, can you move the thing?
Yeah. This is also a thing, Kaylin. You can just stop worrying about where we are in terms of orientation. Who cares?
I might have OCD.
You might.
Well, orientation,
I feel like that's not
I'm on the top on Instagram, but from my point of view, I'm top right. You're top left.
I'm topless.
Oh.
Steve's middle bottom because there's only 3.
Steve's topless.
Middle bottom. Oh man.
He's always middle bottom. If you know
I'm
what
always
I mean.
middle bottom.
That sounds
it can be. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the inherent value of starting these stories with the perspective of somebody entering into the loop without any previous knowledge and going through it with them. And this movie was able to break that, but also still had it. And I think that you needed it in order for the story to be compelling. One of the reasons that I found Boss Level to be so uncompelling right out of the gate is that beginning scene where he's like, and this is how it always works out. Every day I wake up and this guy's trying to shank me in my eyeball or whatever. Meatball. And you're like, okay, I get it. You are good at dodging knives.
I think Boss Level worked as a great as a TV show that I never watched, but like
I think it would have been fine as a video game, and they didn't talk about the time loops.
And just
it's
before
just like a bunch of assassins you have to.
I forget if I mentioned this, but I think that Edge of Tomorrow did the progression of a video game thing so much better than the movie that was supposed to be about a video game. Anyway, sorry.
I think that Groundhog's Day is a very well-received classic movie that will probably be put onto a podium for years and years and years to come. People will be watching Groundhog's Day. This movie, however, should be up there with it if you're going to look at time loop movies in the same sort of regard, because it has good character development. The characters all learn something, and you also, you like them all, even the hunter, Roy. Anyway, I feel like I'm going into final thoughts territory, and I didn't mean to. But
no, never mind.
Sorry. My main thing is that this movie was able to show that you can start the movie with somebody looping already, and it can be interesting. And the interesting part about it was that she's figuring it out. And I think the goal of the movie is for the audience to be figuring it out with her. Because as soon as she's introduced, she gets so much more personal screen time, and she's in frame with Andy Samberg up until the point that you realize there's a magical cave. And it benefits the movie because it's funny, and then you start to realize weird stuff is happening. It's a weird time travel movie, and not only is she going to be now looping, but he's been looping. That's why he knows all this stuff and is able to pull a chair out and put it underneath a guy who's about to fall over, and make a beautiful speech and not be offended by the bartender bringing him 2 drinks, and smell a hunter who then starts hunting him, and he's like a Terminator in the desert. And all of this is very good setup. And then we get to relive that same day, or sorry, we don't relive the same day. We snap back to Andy Samberg again, and he immediately gets attacked by her. And then we go into her starting of her day. And it's the value of starting somebody on a time loop that you get from The Edge of Tomorrow and from Groundhog's Day is still there, because it's still seeded into the story of Frank Grillo's story of Boss Level, where he wakes up and is in the time loops. But instead of being super good at combat, he's just really good at worming his way through the party, Can
we post a spoiler alert with this episode? Because I just realized, I'm pretty sure Andy or the whole team or whatever tried to make sure people didn't know about the time loop. It is kind of nice. I think I said this at the beginning, I didn't know this was that movie, and it was nice kind of experiencing that surprise when it happened. There's those little clues at during that first sequence for sure. It's oh, okay, yeah, I see exactly. That all makes sense. Blah, blah, blah.
I would have liked to have seen this without knowing that it was a time loop. It would have been interesting, and I probably would have got really.
Oh shit, we ruined it for you.
No, I can throw spoiler alert into the thing, but I think that if you see a trailer for this movie, you are gonna figure it out. I do remember the trailer being.
Was it weird? Was it abstract or ambiguous or?
Not I think it was you see a trailer for the movie and you're like, what the fuck was that? And why is Andy Samberg and Cristin Milioti in this drama, this dark dramedy, and then everybody on the internet was like, it's a time loop movie. So I think that if you know what Palm Springs is, you're gonna know it's a time loop movie, but I don't think it's our place to really throw around, especially when we've said for every single one of the movies this month, welcome to Time Loop Month. I think the ship
you're right.
sailed.
It's too late.
I think the ship has sailed on that.
Also,
we went into
it's
February, we're like-
revealed very early in the movie. It's not like it happens midway.
Yeah,
it's like within the first
if
10
you've
minutes.
seen Groundhog Day, you know that it's a time loop movie when he puts a chair down and a guy sits into it.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think that also like yeah, go ahead. No, I already.
No, I was gonna say when he makes that, he doesn't talk about Groundhog's Day, but it's like, oh, it's one of those. I wrote it down.
Infinite time loop scenarios you've heard about.
That you heard about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I thought he was gonna say a la Groundhog's Day or like something like just to be like you've seen the movie Groundhog's Day. It came out in the 90s.
So.
I like that they omitted or like they didn't like mention it, but at the same time, I like when movies acknowledge movie. It's like when you watch a movie and someone does something, and you're like, "Have you never seen a movie before? Why did you do
Remember
that?"
the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where the guy shoots the guy?
There's a good there's tipping your cap to a movie, and then there's
Emilio Estevez, the Mighty Ducks man.
And then there's trying to say that you're better than another movie in a jokey way, and it comes off as you being like, yeah, but I'm better than Liam Neeson, Academy Award winning actor.
Remember the movie Taken? Fuck that.
Does he have Academy Award? I assume he does. He's been in so many.
I don't think he has though.
Oh man,
why
does he keep making revenge movies then?
Because he wants revenge for never winning an Academy Award.
There should be one where he takes revenge on the Academy.
That sounds hilarious. You guys know the Goonies, right?
Of course.
I
don't
familiar,
know why, but when he's in Abe's room, and then Barry like, hey, you want some of this? He buries his head in the pillow, is like hard no, and then he like he can smell it. He's like comes to the conclusion, and he's wearing his shirt. For some reason, I think of Chunk from the Goonies. I think
it's because he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I can safely say didn't remind me of the Goonies, but here we are.
It was a nice Hawaiian. I love Hawaiians personally. When she's throwing the beer at him in the pool, it almost felt like a tip to like action movies, like when there's bullets, like.
Yeah, my buddy Matt said the same thing. He's like, it's like he's in Normandy, only it's not nearly as threatening.
So just sorry to interrupt, but to answer your question about Liam Neeson, he was nominated for Best Actor in 1993 for Schindler's List, and he's never even won a Golden Globe or a Tony. He won a Chicago Film Critics Association Best Actor Award in 1993 for Schindler's List. And he won Best Actor for the Evening Standard British Film Awards for Michael Collins in 1996.
Well, then I rescind my my statement of Academy Award-winning actor Liam Neeson. He just seems like he would have one.
Academy Award nominated.
There we go. Nominated
Schindler's
in 1993.
30 years ago.
Right. It has to be real. It has to be true.
I can't believe that. That's crazy to me that Liam Neeson hasn't even won.
He'll get one of the lifetime achievement ones. They'll be like, and we, the Academy, honor Liam Neeson this year for all of his amazing roles. Taken 4
through 7,
Taken 6, nominated for 18 Academy Awards. Taken 6, best score, best editing.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I would to go back to Liam Neeson's story for 1 second. I'm pretty sure Phantom Menace won something. Like it probably won like best like special effects or some shit, or best costumes.
It was probably nominated for a few things. I don't recall if episode 1 was going to win stuff, it would have been technical achievements for sure, but not acting, unfortunately, because there was no main character. Nobody knew who to grade what on. They're like, who's the main character in this movie? Jar Jar? Yeah. He doesn't show up until like 40 minutes into the movie.
I guess it's it's kind of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn traveling around doing shit, I guess then.
Yeah, but they're
Jar
both
Jar
sort of like
the ultimate boss.
And then the Queen shows up and you're like, is the Queen the main character? And they're like, maybe, but then here's this kid. Yeah, there's no main character. It's hard. It's like a pilot episode of a TV show. It's also kind of an ensemble cast in that respect then. Yeah.
Which Star Wars movies are supposed to be ensemble casts. Tradition.
Listen, I would love to talk about Star Wars, and I can talk about it forever. But if we get down that loop, I won't be able to stop. So we need to.
Oh, sorry.
Cut it off.
Phantom Menace did win a pretty significant award. It won the Satellite Award for Best DVD Extra.
Ooh, I wonder what that extra was. It was best hidden extra too. You had to like scroll and like find like a hidden icon or something.
You had to wait in the menu of the DVD for 14 hours for Jar Jar to pop his head out and go, "Me's a horny."
He goes, "Whoopsies!" And you're like, "Aha, gotcha, you Gungan bastard."
You made a reference to Full Metal Jacket, and you made a reference to Mortal Kombat, and I don't think anybody's ever probably referenced the Phantom Menace or Jar Jar Binks in relation to those two properties before. So I think we should win a
we have now
this one award for.
I'll make it an award for you.
Sounds like it's going to be an insult.
Welcome to the Dumbest Thing Awards. I'm your host, Liam Neeson.
I'm your host, Young Anakin.
Yeah, and here's my co-host, Jar Jar Binks. It's good to see you again, Jar Jar.
It's just a dude with a fucking tennis ball and a stick.
You guys want to talk quantum physics for a second?
Oh yeah, let's go back to this movie so we can.
Well, I don't think it's actually. I'm not sure what to call it, but I had to
go grab a beer, but I'm gonna still hear you in my ears.
Can you still hear me?
All right, I'll still be able to hear you.
You just took them off.
No, I have it more. I have more.
I have it more.
So Jace, I'll look at your face and talk to everyone. Hello, Kat.
You can't see where I'm looking.
That I also like that about the glasses a little bit.
You can't see. You can't see when Steve makes the face that he makes when we talk over him when he has sunglasses on.
I've been seeing it.
You mean this one?
Yes, exactly that one.
But okay, so what do you?
I've been making it the whole time.
I know.
So I'm watching the movie, and one thought I have is, oh, what if someone dies sooner, so they have more days than the other person? But then I realized, regardless of when they died, they still both wake at the same time.
I think that person just stops and is frozen until
it's a black void.
Until
everybody wakes up.
Everybody wakes up from the loop, and I do especially like that you can just end your day whenever you want, not by suicide like we've seen in every other movie, but you can just walk into that cave and be like, "Fuck this day, I'm going to the cave." And
yeah, true, yeah.
I did like that because then we didn't have to see people kill themselves over and over.
We didn't actually see it too much.
Just Cristin Milioti jumps in front of the truck, and I think in one of the like flashback montages of Andy Samberg.
I think it was also because one of the sort of tropes of Samberg, Niles, I should say. His character didn't like hurting people and didn't like hurting himself, and talked about how he killed himself so many times.
Yeah, he had rules.
He had created rules over time, and that's also a thing that I liked. And one of the big things about The Edge of Tomorrow is like, they had to start playing the deaths for comedy, because if they kept making them gruesome, then at the end of the movie, any kind of real death would not have the same weight to it. And I think that they probably went out pretty early on saying like, we shouldn't have too many deaths, and if we do, they should feel consequential, or they should feel like they weigh on the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we fill this thing up with funny deaths, it's gonna remove from our actual clever writing, which they have lots of. And if you have these slapsticky deaths on top of that, people are going to walk away remembering those deaths and not thinking about the dialogue that had been written, carefully written and well written, I should add. And if you had too many gruesome deaths, then people would walk away thinking about how vile the movie was and being like, this is a sad movie. And it is kind of a sad movie. Like, I was feeling stuff at points, appropriately so.
Yeah, some depressive thoughts can definitely conjure up from.
I couldn't imagine doing something really horrible to somebody that I care about, such as cheating with my sister's fiance, or not. I guess she's not cheating, but she's like causing him to cheat. Which is like, you know, imagine waking up every single day and having to look at like a really horrible decision that you had made over and over and over
That
and
was
over
part
again.
of it too. She didn't experience it for nearly as long as but the good thing about her timeline is she wakes up while he's in the shower, so she can just bounce every time.
Yeah.
But
Did you guys notice how she was sure to ask Niles if he hooked up with her sister?
Yeah.
Like almost to relieve herself of that guilt.
Yeah. But there's no way he could have done that even in a Groundhog Day scenario where he just like, because every moment of her day is taken up with the wedding. So there's no.
What about Kitchen Confidential? That chick just got married and hooked up with some guy in the kitchen. 5 minutes into the book.
Oh, but that's Anthony Bourdain just wrote a book about his life. That's like one instance situation.
I was so confused, Jared. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Kitchen Confidential is a fiction story novel that he wrote.
I think it's also sort of like written into the story that in this story that the bride is like a very selfless and caring individual.
Yeah, she gives bone marrow.
Like she's supposed to be like an angel.
When she broke her teeth, man, that hits me so every time. I love it. I jumped every time.
Actually, that's one of the funniest lines for me is when the doctor is like, the dad is like, this dentist glues teeth. It's like, what the hell?
The chaos of that scene is so good too.
Yeah.
Where they're all in that room and she's crying and there's blood everywhere and the teeth are on the table and then Cristin Milioti pukes. Like I fucking love chaos like that in movies. It makes me.
It reminded me of Meet the Parents when he volleyballs the bride. They're playing water polo and just smashes her nose.
It brings me to a question. We did a question I think it was the first one, Groundhogs, where Jason, I think you asked like what day would you want to like relive? I want to bring back the question, but I want to change it to what day would you change or redo, like to fix or whatever.
Kaylin, this is a question you should ask previous to the show. Not, do you think the old lady's in the loop? Like, this is a question I need time to think about.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll go first.
100 days that I would like to do over and change how they went down.
I have, I think, 2 or 3 main ones, maybe 4. There's one. So the segue into this question, one day that I wish I could go back and change was when I broke my 2 front teeth. It was not the same as her situation, but I'll tell you one thing: teeth are expensive and it's annoying.
Yeah, my sister did the same thing. I think that she would probably redo that day as well. I remember it was pretty brutal. I remember getting a phone call from like one of her friends' parents, and she's like, "Hello, who is this?" I was like, "It's Stephen," and she was like, "Is your mother there?" And I could hear in the background my sister like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I'm like,
"What
"What's
are the
going
odds
on?"
She was wearing a cape and jumping off of a teeter-totter.
Not far off.
Oh yeah, really?
You hear in the background, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and I'm like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Is your mother there? Your sister's had an accident." And then I hear my sister in the background saying, "I'm gonna be a freak, a freak." And I'm like picturing my sister with like her eyeball hanging out or something, and like she's like burned like the majority of her body. She just knocked her teeth out. Anyway, I don't know. I don't really. It's really hard because there's so many things, right? Like, I guess the way I would have to
the major ones. What's like?
I would go through like a lexicon of the things that I think about way too much.
Yeah.
When I'm trying to go to bed. Point. Like, if there's something that keeps me up at night that I could change and erase from my timeline, it would be the things that when I'm lying in bed and I go, "Oh, I can't believe I said that," or "Oh, why did I do that?" I would probably go back and change those things. I've got a million, so like. I don't know. One that pops into my mind is like when I was a kid, I remember, you remember you had like desks and you would just fill it with all your shit, like pencils and erasers and pencil sharpeners.
At school?
Yeah. Like when you were in grade school, when you had an assigned desk and it was just full of stuff. I remember I needed an eraser. So I reached into another kid's desk and took it and pulled it out. And as I did, the teacher grabbed my wrist and was like, what are you doing? Because there had been someone stealing erasers or whatever. And I just needed it. I just needed it. I wasn't stealing it. I was going to put it back. And instead of just saying, I just needed it and I wanted to put it back afterwards, I made up a thing where I was like, no, he told me I could take it. Instead of just telling the truth, fine. I made up a lie to try and cover for the truth, which I just should have just told the truth. But I didn't think she would believe the truth. So I had to make up a lie. And then she went to the other kid and he was like, no, I didn't say that. And then everybody in the whole class for like the rest of the year thought I was the eraser thief. But I wasn't. I wasn't the eraser thief. It was just that one time.
I can't.
But if you guys are interested, I got a real big locker full of erasers.
Yeah. I'm selling them.
Yeah.
I got a bunch that I'm not going to talk about on this podcast. I have a checkered past at best.
That's fair.
But the two major things I can think of is when I was a little kid in like summer camp, we went on this like field trip and the boys got a frog and put it in a plastic bag and we all took turns bashing it to bits. That's when I discovered that my empathy is just the worst. Like I feel all of that shit.
That's rough, man.
That's real dark, right? But I never did it again, and I fucking have empathy for animals and stuff now because of it. So that it's kind of a dumb white kid thing that you have to learn, and if you don't learn it, you're kind of a psychopath. So it's good that I, never repeated that. The other one was when I was in like high school. Me and a bunch of the homies were just walking around downtown Halifax, bumming cigarettes off tourists and stuff.
Sharking.
And it's all fine. It's all good. Like that part was fine. But then we had this little thing that we used to do at that time where we would run across like the hoods of cars in parking lots called hood jumping.
What the fuck?
Yep. And I got caught. I was patsied, kind of. I was the last one to jump down off a car, and I got like grabbed by a cop, and I had to write a letter. A super insincere letter to the person that owned one of the cars.
Just one?
Yeah. Got off super easy.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, he's like, I could make you write 30 letters, but I'm gonna make you write one.
But aside from the things that I'm not going to talk about on this like fun podcast that are just like dark shit that I don't want to like reveal.
Like killing a frog. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little back there.
Well, the killing the frog thing was just like peer pressure, and the car hopping thing was peer pressure. So like things
you wouldn't do now as an adult if somebody asked you to do. Yeah, you would probably think more about it.
Is the stuff that keeps me up at night, and then the real dark shit. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not going to talk about everybody's got some real dark shit. Nobody wants to reveal it on a podcast unless tune in tomorrow night for the dark side of, hey, did you see this one?
I do have a funny in grade 1, I peed my pants. We had this rule where you couldn't go to the bathroom unless you asked. So I had, when you get like the tingly feeling, it's like, ooh, I gotta pee. So I go to the teacher's desk and there's a line up because kids have questions about 2 + 2 or whatever. So I'm waiting in line. And you know how sometimes like when you're like the feeling just goes away? And the feeling went away. So I went
having to pee?
Down. Yeah.
Yeah. If you hold it for long enough.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you get just like, not when you get the major feeling, you get like that relief. The little like, ooh, I need to pee in the future. It's not there yet, but it's almost there.
Yeah, so you're like a fortune teller, a wizard, if you will.
With my
because with pooping, it's kind of a similar thing, but when it comes back threefold, and then it exponentially.
You don't want to. I have a story about that too, but not as well. Actually, pretty funny. But this one's way funnier. So I go back, sit down, then the feeling comes back. So I go back to the line to wait to ask to use the bathroom. There's a lot of people though, and then the feeling goes away again. I go back and sit down. The feeling comes back.
What the fuck is this kid doing?
Well, this is
he's dancing around over here, skipping and jumping,
whirling.
Luckily, I don't think any of the kids noticed because the homework must have been really tough. They were all in line waiting for questions.
Also, when you're in grade 1, do you remember anything that anyone else was doing? No, you only remember what you were doing. When you're in
Oh, that's a
grade
good
one, you're
point.
like an
I remember.
idiot. Like everyone's a fucking
I
stupid
found
idiot.
someone's lunch. I forget who it was now. You have a good point, but I did find their lunch. It was right there.
Right next to me while I needed to pee. All right,
But,
so finish
I
your
get
piss
back.
story. You peed your pants, right?
So
That's how this ends.
No, that's not even the best part. It's a pretty good part.
I peed someone else's pants.
I pissed all over somebody else. They loved it. That's how they developed their piss fetish. Ironically, that's what they would like to have removed on a de-looping situation.
All right, Caitlin, I'm sorry. Keep going. Tell us more.
No,
Tell
that's
us
what
more.
we're sorry about. You're
I'm
adding to
invested
the
now.
Story.
You've
It
sat
would've-
down and stood up 3 times at this point. What happens?
I pissed my pants.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
But wait. The bell for recess goes. I quickly get as far away from my desk as I can. I hear someone in the distance say, "Someone spilt their apple juice." I was like, I laughed because it was
the mind of a
wrong.
child. They just assume it's apple juice. This
I
really
laughed because it was
warm,
wrong, and I was
piss
relieved
smelling
because-
apple juice. Smells like ammonia.
I don't know. Like apple juice and piss kind of smell similar under the right circumstances. I'm just saying.
I disagree.
Well, they're not an adult's beer piss, but like if you drink apple juice all day, it's gonna smell like apple juice.
I'm down with that.
I guess, yeah, that's true. So you ran as far away as you
And
could
kids
from
drink
your
apple
desk,
juice.
and then so you did piss yourself at the desk and then ran away from your desk.
When the bell went off, so I was like, "Oh, get the fuck out of here!"
Right.
And then I heard someone, and it made me laugh. The teacher did notice. She didn't make a big deal out of it, but like everyone
That's
went and
her
did their
job.
thing. She's like, this way. I got like a pair of pants from Lost and Found. It's kind of weird wearing someone else's pants.
And that's how
yeah,
you
when
got
you're a kid.
chlamydia?
I mean, it's weird wearing someone else's pants, period. Like
That's true.
as an adult, if you like for some reason like tore your pants or something and you were like I had to wear someone's shirt. I went to a wedding recently and then like my shirt got like a huge it was an Indian wedding and I got like this massive curry stain all over it. Like it was just like right down the front. And I was like,
How'd you do
oh
that?
darn. I was eating and I just like I
Missed your mouth.
I flubbed my fork and it dripped all over me. And then someone else was like, I have an extra shirt. And I was like, why? Because we were like at the wedding.
Yeah.
and he was like, well, I mean, for this reason, I suppose.
What
And I
if
was
you
like, that's
ruined
true.
it?
Yeah, give me. Because we were like very much the same size. And I put it on, it fit me perfectly. I was like, oh, should I steal this shirt? Like I stole all those erasers? But I didn't. I gave it back at the end. Kaylin, I'm sorry that happened to you. If I
No, I was saying I wouldn't. So like someone would probably change that. I wouldn't change that. That shit made me laugh so much. She thought it was apple juice.
I guess.
I was in the clear. It was perfect. It was funny and anxiety relieving.
When I was in grade 1, someone sitting across from me the whole morning looked like pale and kept being like, I don't feel well. And then in the middle of like whatever, some lesson, he barfed and it spread all the way across both desks and hit me in my chest. I would change that day for sure. I would have sat
Yeah, I have one of
on
those
the other
too.
side.
This girl in my class who was sitting at my table fucking was like and barfed so hard all over my backpack. And I
Isn't it
Did
crazy
that
to
barf
think
make
about
you
like when you're a
barf?
little kid, how often people just barf
people
everywhere?
were
Like
sick
that
to
doesn't
their
happen
stomach
anymore.
and puked all the time. Like people as adults don't like get stomach flus really, unless they're like have
Yeah,
you know,
that's what your
unless-
childhood is you're building up immunities to like stupid bullshit
ancient-
tiny
ancient-
viruses.
Kids
Ancient
barfing very much
diseases.
anymore.
Yeah.
that ravage the fucking child body. So we're at an hour and a half here. So Steve, if you've gotten through your points, if Kaylin, if you've gotten through your points, I actually used most my notes without even looking at my notes. I don't know what my notes are even for at this point because I use everything I see. Here's the Ouroboros of notes. Everything I write down, by writing it down, I'm gonna remember it. But if I don't write it down, I'll have nothing. But I never have to like look at my notes. But if I don't make notes of things, I won't remember it. So, did you guys cover everything? Because I'd like to go into our final thoughts.
Yeah,
I got
sure.
a few
Let's go.
little quick things.
Okay,
I have one thing. Can I just say it?
Hit
quick?
it.
hit it.
I like that in this movie, the characters 100% know that they are going to get out of the loop, and they make sure that they say the things that they need to say to certain people within that final loop. Similar to The Edge of Tomorrow, where they know they're in the loop, but they're all dying, saving themselves, which would have been way cooler if they all died. But anyway, the fact that they go through and they say things to certain people, like, you know, Sarah saying to the groom, like, don't fuck it up again, bud. Like, that's good. And I like that.
But you don't fuck it up.
And I kind of wish that there was a moment like that in Groundhog's Day, but at the same time, they know that they're getting out, or they at least think they think they know they're getting out. Whereas in Groundhog's Day, it's all about Phil and Rita, which is like, okay. Whereas this is more about like, it's more about the grand scheme of your mental psyche in terms of like dealing with being in a loop for as long as you have been and seeing what it does to 3 separate people.
It is a lot more about mental health, because we do have 30 years between Groundhog Day, which is a very rudimentary idea.
But there are still the same elements in here. They're just not focused in as comedic elements. Like they're there as reality elements, but they're not there as comedic elements, which is probably better, that they can deal with it and show the impact that it has on the people that are being affected by it. But again, like I said, the fact that they go back and try to like seed some stuff in that final day, they're like, what are all the things that we need to do before we go to the next day? Because now we know how to get to the next day.
Because this day is the one, this is the November 9th that's going to count, basically.
Yes. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Kaylin, hit me with your pre-final thought.
Pre-final. So one thing, this is, I think, one of the first movies we've done that had a shot that really stood out for me that I really like. And it's when Niles is laying on the diving board, just centered over the pool.
One of the posters for the movie, actually.
Nice. It's a really captivating shot. I really like that. I gotta give a shout out to that. Well, there's some quick little things here. What does this say? Oh, your mom's a mistake. They're going into the cave. It's like, oh, I want to meet your mom. It's like, I knew it was a mistake. Your mom's a mistake. Like, perfect little silly
They're
humor.
talking shit to each other right to the last moment. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What does this say?
It reminded me of Your Mom Goes to College from Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, exactly, from Napoleon. Exactly. Oh, okay. So the one thing she tells Niles, Sarah tells Niles, they had that goat from the Spud guy with the guns place. Like, yo, I brought him through the cave. I strapped the bomb on him. He wasn't there the next day. But Niles is there when Roy is there the next day, which is still today or whatever, right? And so, but also, he's like, so was that goat actually gone? And she's like, oh, it's too late. Like, you're already here, whatever. So there is that. But then also, the easy solution is just you bring the goat through. You teach the goat a trick or its name, like you teach it to respond to its name. You go blow it up, and then you go to the goat again. Does it respond to its name? No, it works. I feel like I went on a tangent. I don't know if I lost you guys, but hopefully.
You came back around to me understanding what you're saying, but you can't teach an old goat new tricks, Kaylin.
Yeah, I think that's about, even if it was a cat or a dog, I don't know if like animals, it's been proven time and time again that you can say if a dog's name is like, you know, Jasper, and you say Hasper or Jasper or Rah, they'll still look at you, like there's a funny
animals
TikTok,
are very
the noise. That's true.
There's a funny TikTok
so
guy
maybe a trick specifically
who goes up to animals and says like the name of the I saw one where he goes up to a cat, says kitty kitty in like 4 different languages, and then when he responds to the Spanish, he's like, the cat's Mexican, and that's like animals. It's not a proven thing. Like those things where you see an animal pressing a button to like say a thing, I think that's mostly just us, mostly just the owner imprinting their own confirmation bias. So if they get food or pets, those buttons will work, but you can't if a dog goes over and presses like, I'm sad, I'm
I don't know about that shit, but food and
the
walk,
pseudoscience.
like, because so food, like that's a sound, right? Food, like the sound, like when they woof, their sounds don't, like some of their sounds, like when they whimper and shit, like you don't know exactly what they're saying, but you can link it to kind of a thought or whatever. So
Well,
with the sound food, they link it to food. When you say you want to go for a walk, you go for a walk. They link it to say sad. I don't think that can work.
I know for a
I mean,
cat,
if you somehow
specifically,
explain
cat
to a dog
meows-
the concept of sadness, then yeah,
cat
but
meows
that's
aren't
difficult to do.
a language. They're an evolutionary response to being domesticated. They know that when they make meowing sounds, we do shit for them. And
Yes,
animals being
I have a
cute-
cat, and she knows the noises to make when she's hungry, and the noises to make when she doesn't want me to pick her up, and the noises that she makes when she's just like, "What the fuck is that thing?" And she
specifically,
wants me
like,
to show it to her.
they're a language with humans. They don't meow and talk to each other.
It would be like if we all just
what do they do?
talk
Just
to each
what?
other in grunts and moans and like
Purrs?
like
No,
whines.
cats, those crying sounds that cats make, like wow, like that's
Right.
more of like how they communicate. That's more
Yeah.
I'm horny. I'm horny.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
you're
the cat is
sexual.
like me,
You got the
me,
Kavorka.
me, so, me, so, horny, and
And
you're like,
dogs
oh god,
barking.
not
I think-
again.
I think you could literally translate all dog barks to hey, 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 hey. So
Yo, I thought about it
Or
the other
what?
day. I'm a
What?
dog.
What?
Exactly. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like a sound
Huh?
or a movement. I'm like,
Huh?
what's that? Someone's
Hey.
down to hang out. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, what food? My nose is usually wet. I do have one more question though. One more question, I think.
All right,
One more
that's-
question.
okay.
When he was talking about the fleeting feeling, when they were starting to like really kind of connect deep and shit, he had a look, to me anyway, like he was thinking about something specific, and maybe it wasn't, but I couldn't tell what it was, and I wanted to know what you guys maybe thought.
At what point?
Yeah,
when
did that
they're
happen?
when they the night that they have sex, before they have sex, they're like they're at the
Oh,
fire.
because she
they're
thinks that
connecting.
she thinks that he's a nihilist and wants to just do everything impulse based. But we know as like it's a
No, but
force-
he says it's a fleeting feeling, like all of them or something, like they like it always
well,
it
he
drifts
wanted
away. They like they always
this
do.
for her. This was like let's get it over, and for him over with, and for him he wanted to like make love to her.
Yeah, he had developed. I think that it's also implied that he had developed feelings for her before, but
Mhm.
just based on like the very primal, like I've just
Couldn't
met you,
actually-
and I really like your attitude, and also it's easy for me to figure out how to have sex with you, which is like a very unfortunate part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But her being put into the loops, he probably
Actually.
could have figured out a way to have sex with her earlier if he wanted to. I really feel grimy even describing this, but like he probably would have been able to, based on the fact that he's done it so many times before.
Right.
Figured out a way to do it as fast as he could, but because she's been brought into the loops, he has the rule of like, I can't cause pain to people. And I thought that meant he's also including emotional pain. Like he doesn't want to specifically injure people, even if it's emotionally. And now that she's in the loop, like anything that he does could potentially injure her emotionally. And he was trying to like stop himself from doing that. But at the end of the day, like it's a weird, gross thing to even think about. Like somebody who's like basically had a GTA save or whatever that he can just keep going back to try over and over again, and then having that person move beyond the save and being like, hey, I remember what happened in all those saves. You'd be like, oh god.
That's so funny
Sorry.
too, because I'm a video gamer who like specifically tries not to do that. I try to like if I absolutely gonna fuck my game up, I'll reload a save. But I reserve the reloading save thing for like if I'm trying to do a certain type of run in a game I've already played.
Yeah, no, I like if I'm playing Mass Effect or something, I usually go through it with Steve intention, where I'm like, I'm gonna play it like Steve would be, and then I go through and then I'll go back and be like, now I'm only good, or now I'm only evil. But like I don't usually have like a huge mixture. Like the Steve run is primarily a pretty good guy with a few renegade decisions here in there, but they're not messed up.
In
you know?
Cyberpunk right now, I'm doing this thing where I try to just stealth through places, but just because it's annoying to fight everybody at once. But when you grab somebody from behind, you can either do non-lethal or murder them. And I was trying to do non-lethal a few times, and that made me feel weirdly, you know, because I was like,
keep going, guys. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
If I non-lethal this person, do I like, what does that mean? Anyway,
Does that mean I have to non-lethal everybody?
It's a total philosophical dumb
Yeah.
thing. And I think that bleeds over into whenever we bring up the fact that these are kind of like save files. And
Well,
I
that's
think
what it is, right? Like that's the clearest sort of comparison to modern day analysis is like so many people play video games and they understand what it means to be able to load a save, and that and like, you know, like the Groundhog's Day didn't really have that beforehand, right? Like video games existed at that time, but not to the degree that they do now. And like I remember when I was in high school specifically saving a file in Oblivion, like being like, this is my murder file, and then like going and seeing if I could kill as many people as I could just to see if I could do it.
GTA 3, I think, was the first game where you could even really do that. And probably Morrowind, which is from around the
Morrowind, yeah, you could kill even like quest giving characters where like you would kill and then like a screen would come up being like, just so you know, you've changed the sands of time and you can no longer ever complete this game.
But I remember in Grand Theft Auto 3, and you could probably do it in 1 and 2, they just weren't games that everybody played because they were top down. But I remember in GTA 3 having a special save file that I would load and just leave on the TV for if I had friends over. I'd be like, just play this file and you can do whatever you want, and it's got
right, yeah, because they all want to go bananas,
yeah, and you just go nuts. And we're actually trying to run up the numbers in the menu. Anyway, I think we've done what we need to do here. So
I know, I'm just sad to see our Looper month go. I don't want to stop talking about it.
I don't even know what our next month is. So
it is your month, bro.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's not Jason's month. It's cartoon month.
Oh, what? Remember, it's adult cartoon month, and I'm April.
Adult.
Adult
why
cartoon
is March
month, and it
why
goes
is March
into
animation month. Okay,
remember,
well,
I wanted to do adult
because you wanted
animation
to
and have South Park as the last movie, and then
I chose animation because I was going to be like animation April, and then you're like, but animation's my birthday month, and I was like, all right, let's switch to March. And I couldn't think of a funny alliteration for.
Well, we can talk about this off air, but we've reached the segment of our show that is known as Final Thoughts. I'm going to do it like we did at the top of the show. I'm going to go first because I'm breaking it down. I'm changing the loop.
It feels weird on my inside parts.
Yeah. And that's what it's meant to do, just like this movie. I love this movie. The first time I watched it, I only gave it a 4. I had to go back and look. And I actually bumped it up to a 4.2 this time. I know that seems insignificant, but it's very rare that I actually go up when I re-rate a movie. And I think it's worth noting that this time watching it, I got a lot more out of it. And I wanted to ask you guys, Steve, I think you only watched it the once.
Yes.
But Kaylin, you are known on this podcast for watching movies multiple times, and you said you had seen it once.
Can you guys not at least twice?
I usually do, but I feel like I got everything I needed the first time through.
It's rare that I see a movie more than once for this podcast specifically, and this is the second time I've seen it. Kaylin, what was your total watch amount?
My total watch for this one? So actually, I had a date night last week, and this movie came up in along the searching or whatever. I was like, hey, what's this?
Oh God.
Perfect.
Playing the role of Andy Samberg, are we?
Also doing homework while on a date.
Yeah.
So to be fair, I told her,
was she like, why are you taking notes?
I did mention, I think halfway through, at some point I did mention, I can't remember how it came up, but I was like, because I told her like that I'd like hang out with you guys and do like a little pod thing or whatever, and that we're doing this movie this week. It's like, oh, so she got a little offended. Like, I didn't pick it, it came up. It just happened to be there. But so total watch was that one, but that one didn't really count. It was like, it was on.
It
Then there
counted
was
slightly. It's like a half. Yeah.
exactly. I got a little bit of, there is some stuff kind of seeping in. Then I did a watch for myself. Then I did a watch with notes, and then I did a watch yesterday just to refresh again.
You've
You
seen
did
it-
4
you've seen it
watches?
4 times.
I did like three and a half watches.
No, but you said
Right.
you watched it last year too, right?
Yeah, so 5.
Why can't you watch The Mouth of Madness 4 times? I can't imagine the things.
I
that would-
watched
okay.
it. I did watch it. I think.
All right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Okay.
offend you.
Okay, so I just wanted to you probably don't change your rating around. You guys don't do the same rating system as me anyway. I'm trying to do more of a like traditional.
I mean, right. Yes, you are the traditional, and then we're doing our crazy rating.
and I love that. So, but my point is I don't. It's very rare that a lot of times I rewatch a movie and if my score stays the same or goes down because of my attitude. And today I watched this movie that I know that I like, I very much enjoy on a day off, and it didn't feel like homework, and it didn't feel like, sometimes a movie takes a bit to get going. We all know how I feel about Halloween, and you know what
Get
I mean?
to the Home Alone.
Get to the Home
It's been
Alone
months,
level.
and you're still bringing up Halloween over here.
We've been over it, but I love this movie, and I love the thing is the cast is so fucking good. I love Andy Samberg, and I love Cristin Milioti, and I love J.K. Simmons, and all the supporting cast killed it. And then the old lady in the saloon who's in a whole bunch of shit is great. Just top to bottom, it's thought-provoking. It's like they took Groundhog Day and expounded on the basic idea. Like, what if Rita was stuck, like at some point stuck in the time loop with him? And you have to really differentiate this from other time loop movies, despite the fact that there are 8 total. Where this is genre defining because it's a mumblecore movie. There's no other movie like it. And the 2 middle movies we did are like sci-fi action, right? So it's very much different than those. But it's interesting that this whole month was a lot of fun, and John Carpenter was probably our best month, but this was the most like diverse while still keeping the same sort of gimmick or
a little levity
idea. Yeah, it's all over the place. Like last week was really weird because I wanted to come in. If we all shit on it, or if me and Steve just shit on it the whole time, and Kaylin was trying to be it was pretty good, then I don't know if it would be interesting. So I kind of had to have my own gimmick for the show to sort of be like yin yang and in between.
Yeah,
I'm
unyielding. I will not be a puppet to this charade.
I was gonna choose this 4-hour show at some point because I like this movie so much. And like I said, my final rating is 4.2 out of 5, and it's up from a year ago when I first watched it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. So it's a special movie to me. It reminds me of pre-pandemic as well. It reminds me of sitting down and watching a movie with my wife. We both enjoyed it. It reminds me of seeing a trailer in 2019 for some weird Andy Samberg thing that I didn't know. Cristin Milioti is great in everything she does. And yeah, that's that. So I'll toss it over to Steve because Kaylin's taking a fucking bong rip.
All right.
this is not a bong.
It's a pipe hit. It's a bong rip. Who cares?
So as I said when we first started, I did not love this movie, and I did not hate this movie. I enjoyed it. I liked being in it. I liked watching it. I liked sitting there with some friends and commenting on it while we watched it. And Jason, you saying that this movie reminds you of sitting down with your wife and watching something is exactly how I felt. I felt like I was sitting down with your wife and watching this movie. I felt like I was sitting down with friends and just watching a thing that was like, oh, this is interesting enough. And like, it didn't really like blow my mind in any specific way, but at the same time, like at the end of it, we all kind of nodded and agreed like that was good. I think that this movie is almost like a fine-tuned version of Groundhog's Day, where they take all of the problems with Groundhog's Day and address them, all the questions. Like, you guys had a lot of questions about this one as well, but it almost answered every single question you had about Groundhog's Day, which was like, what if he stays awake past, what if he goes as far as he can outside of the, what if he does, and like they
Why didn't bring
address
it up.
all of those.
And that's
Yeah,
why I
exactly.
did bring it up in
And
Groundhog
this
Day
is the first
because-
one where you guys didn't bring up like, what if they try this kind of stuff, which is, I was like appreciating the fact that they were addressing those things, and I was like, thank God we don't have to talk about
My
this
questions
on
for
the
those
podcast.
other movies come from this movie. I just want to.
Oh, okay, interesting. I also think that, you know, we have tended to dwell on the mechanics of these movies a little bit more than I think that you can. Like, you can't sit here and try and understand the mechanics of a time loop movie because there's no mechanics of it, and to try and understand the science is just, it's fleetless and silly. But like, that's not what the point of these movies are. They're, every single one of them are character studies, except for fucking Boss Level, which is just like somebody jerking off inside a camera. Like, these movies are meant for you to analyze these characters and see how they're broken down or built up through a very insane situation. And I think that this one, because there are three characters that are going through it, you can look at it through three different lenses. And yes, the two main characters are extremely focused and you can understand their mindset. You also find yourself questioning you as a person through them. Not so much J.K. Simmons. He's like, maybe if I was an old man who had a family and was like proficient with ranged weapons, like I would be like, yes, this is exactly how I feel as well. I would barbecue every day. And I don't know. I think that, again, it's like they've tightened up the screws of the comedic approach to it, where they're telling a compelling story that is a drama between two characters, while also exploring human nature, which is always good. I will give this movie one giant cave explosion. A single one. But at the end of the explosion, I come out of the wreckage and I say, I recommend watching this movie. I think that it's good. I don't know. I don't have a ton to say about like the movie overall, other than I think it takes this sort of idea that is difficult to continuously go into. We've gone into it. This is the fourth one, and it's impossible for me to watch this movie without comparing it to the other three. That's something I haven't run into yet in this podcast, is having to compare it to the movie previous, except for maybe our slasher movie month.
I feel like
because-
we've talked about time loop movies as like a 6 hour breakdown of 4 different movies rather than
Exactly.
individual. Like, we just you know what I mean? Like, each week we took a movie and we tore down the same questions and reached different conclusions.
But I think at the end of it all, I see what this movie has done, and I'm like, this movie understands that the loop is not necessarily the what you need for the structure. It's the interaction between these characters and their individual mindsets, and you kind of are ping-ponging those back and forth with that as a set piece.
Right.
Whereas even The Edge of Tomorrow, like that, the whole thing is the loops, right? Like, it gets a little bit interesting once you realize you're being shown things that he's already experienced and you haven't. Whereas this movie is like, no, we want to make sure that you like both of these characters at the end and you want them both to get out. And I think it succeeds. So yeah, a giant explosion with me coming out of the cave, and I have the goat with me, and I say, you should watch this, and the goat goes, and now it's up to you, Kaylin, to take us home.
Alan,
Oh
why don't you tell us-
no.
Yeah, I left you to last year. This is the most talkative you've probably ever been in an episode.
Who?
You.
This episode?
Yeah.
There's a few episodes where I was like super drunk and talked over you guys.
No, but like sometimes you're
That doesn't count as talking though, because it
No.
was incoherent and no one could understand it.
What I mean is
It was mumblecore.
you had a you had a lot of good points this week. You have a lot of good points all the time, but sometimes I feel like you get a little lost in me and Steve kind of yelling at each other. But I want you to, this started as mine and your baby, so I don't
Not
want
at all.
to
It started as
get lost
you
in the sauce.
starting to watch movies when lockdowns got heavy, and then you shared your thoughts, and I was like, hey, can I be a? I was thinking, I was like, can I be a guest or something? I can't remember.
I think you asked me to be a guest on my movie reviews that were written.
Yeah.
Can I do like a guest spot? Like
I'm
a
like, that's
Kalen's
not-
choice.
We could do a pod. I'm very good at podcasting now. I've done hundreds of hours of podcasting. So, go ahead with your final thoughts, there, Cage.
Thank you for bringing me along on this journey. I like watching movies, and it's fun to. And I've said this before. It's like, so one thing is just being introduced to other movies that maybe I didn't know about. Two, also hearing different perspectives to, what I've just watched. Like, all of these episodes we've done, you guys have said things where I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, or didn't, see it in that kind of light or whatever. This month has been, what do we call it? Loop-uary. Is that not it? Loop-uary.
Loop-uary was oh god, who cares? It's
I've
over.
been just referring as like February's time loop month.
This is spoiler alert month.
Spoiler alert month is a good way to put it. Yeah.
The spoiler barrel.
Live, die, repeat. Nah, it's too specific to that movie. Anyway, this month has been. I mean, we've been kind of creating themes for months, which, adding structure definitely helps for sure. But it does kind of create that repetition. But I have found it. We've done a month, so 4 movies of Jason, as you mentioned earlier. Like, so the premise, the gimmick is the same, but they are different genres. The way they incorporate that gimmick in the story that they're telling. And Steve, like you said, what's really at the heart of any good movie is, the story, the characters, their development, the journey they go on. And this is a fun little entertaining, not too heavy, also pokes fun a little bit at
Kalen. I cannot hear you in the Instagram podcast.
You cannot. Oh, that's because I got a little alert come up. My apologies. My phone's dying. Am I back?
You're back. We didn't lose too much. Just the last 15 seconds.
I was saying, what was I saying?
You were saying Jason is correct in they're all different genres. I'm correct in these are
right.
examinations.
Character examinations, exactly. This movie, it still does some of the tropes, but it pokes fun at it, like when they do like the last speech thing. And I learned what ellipses are. Don't ever, all you folks out there at home, don't ever say you never learned nothing on. Well, we'll save the title for later, but I enjoyed this movie. This will probably be something that if I can find a physical copy, because I think it's just
streaming only. It's
a Hulu. Yeah, it's a Hulu original.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so I probably won't get a physical copy of it, but it is a movie that I will probably revisit as long as I have Prime. And I give it infinite till days of the same day out of a day. I'm not sure if that came out the way I wanted it to, but
I think it was a good review. If they're infinite chill days, then that means you're never getting hunted by J.K. Simmons or lit on fire by a crazy person or have to blow up.
That does add a little bit of spice. Personally, I could see myself, there'd be days where I'd be like, you know what? I don't really feel like even like in real life, you just get like down or whatever, low energy, depressed, whatever the fuck it is. You kind of just chill in your bed or whatever, just kind of let things happen. then you have days where you're motivated, you want to do something, you want to learn something. Like I'm pretty like, even though it's the same day, me myself would still be kind of going through cycles.
Yeah. No, yeah, that Kaylin, you brought that up and we kind of glossed over it, but like you probably go through these periods in the time loop where not a whole lot happens.
Mm-hmm.
You just go through the motions. You just don't even do the thing with the plot. But that doesn't matter because like we're seeing a narrative plot be pushed forward by different things that happen, right? So
yeah.
That's where I get where Steve comes from, where we dwell a lot on what a lot of these movies we dwell a lot on what are the rules or what are the parameters.
But it's fun.
Yeah, that's the point of having a podcast. And you know, I guess at this point all I have left to say is for old Steve and Kaylin, I'm Jason.
For Kaylin, I'm Steven.
For Steven and Jason, I'm Kellen.
And I have one significant question I have to ask each and every week. And that is, hey, did you see this one?
Oh, I forgot I have eyeballs.
Hey, did you see this one? Anybody?
Hey, you see this one?
I did.
I'm sorry.